So I'll be making a Stair Madness version like if ROBTOP designed it. It's going to be the first level of the game, so I have to introduce some stuff like the cube, jumping over spikes, and I'm going to say these are semi-solids, so I get some more variety. I'd also need to introduce this jetpack like ROBTOP does in the first level. Other than that, I'm not using anything else, no moving objects, no like orbs because the first level doesn't have orbs. The one exception I'll use is that I'm going to use the robot because that's just a staple in every single platformer, being able to control your jump height. By the way, I have never made a full GD platformer in my life before. I'm placing a block here so that the player can learn how to jump, and then after that I make it a bit more complex, put it in a safe environment. And no, I'm trying to press right to move the screen. What's the hotkey to move the screen? What? If the player falls, they have a safe way to get back. Oh wait, this is a classic. Let's make this a platformer first. However, I think I should make this a bit easier. I'm gonna make this a bit more wide to give the player more space. And after that, we can introduce some obstacles and have to jump over the spike. I think we can add something where they jump over the spike onto a platform like that. We should make some spike pits. I think that's easy enough for the beginning as the cube. As the staircase ascends, I think a good thing to do is make the platforms a bit smaller and the jumps a bit higher. I'll just build a wall here actually, so they know they're supposed to go this direction. So now I'm gonna make some of these spike setups so that they have to jump upwards onto this wall instead. Then I think a good part now is I'm going to let them fall all the way down. This will allow them to figure out the fact that they have more horizontal control in platforms compared to classic. And I think for good measure, I'll put a challenging spike here before placing the first checkpoint. On second thought, I'm going to move these a bit left because like this is the first level and that's kind of a bit tight. Yeah, like yay so. My idea is like I'm going to place this block down here. So what that will make the player do, once they jump, they go up on top of these blocks. That will let the player naturally know this is a semi-solid. Ooh, you know what I can do? Place one up here. Going to be a user coin. Let's make them jump over a triple spike, like if they really want the coin. Where are user coins in the editor? Help! But now that we have the introduction of semi-solids, the next thing I want to do is in essence do a fake out. Because if you go up top, what happens is you get here and you get blocked off. You're going to have to walk all the way back. So you want to jump from the bottom here. I think that's a neat twist of the mechanic we can use. The player should be a bit more comfortable with these semi-solids now. So my idea was that by using these semi-solids, we can like show them that the spikes are also definitely formed like below. Let's make the player plan ahead a bit. If you're not paying attention, you just die here, which I think would be a really neat twist. And while we're here, going to make a short tower climb. Now we just do these. And we have a nice tower climb here. I want to like make the player have to jump between like a couple of spikes. Jump from this point into here. Now I want to make it so that the player knows they can walk sideways between these semi-solids. And I'll put the spikes on the left side. I also want to do like a dropper here. I don't like the fact that the camera, like you can't see these 4 spikes on top. Move these down. I don't want them to fit between 1 block gaps because that's a bit too much for the first level. Put a trap here where like if they hold jump too much, they just like perish here. I think the player can figure out they can hold left there. I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. And I'm going to force the player to make a 2-block jump to get to the next section of the level. And after that spike corridor, it's time for the next checkpoint. We should introduce the robot first. The best way to introduce the robot is with the fact that you can jump higher. The player knows they can pass these, so the only thing they can try is holding jump to get past these now. So I want to have some lengthy platforms. Tell them, hey, you can jump over a lot of spikes. You can jump over 4 spikes even. It is time for another tower segment. I'll put these blocks just like so. So like the player gets more used to the fact that the robot can control their jump height. This is just a short getting over segment. So I'm going to do a dropper here, purely just for a coin. So I'll put these semi-solids here. If the player notices it while I climb the tower, they can go into this enclave and get another user coin. That's another thing I just thought of. While you're jumping down, the player has noticed the robot can't control the jump height. This will force the player not to hold jump. Good, that is good. I wanted to die there. Okay, so it's day 2 and the main goal now is to introduce the jetpack. I need to make a very big space. Like the original ROBTOP level, ROBTOP gives you a lot of space. And then after that, they'll have to go up and down between these things. Place it 1 block at a time. I don't know why these aren't auto-snapping to the grid. I'm so confused. Yes, I got it. I just copy-pasted spikes from another level. I solved it out of my own willpower. But yeah, I'm making a short jetpack section so that the player gets familiar with the jetpack. Now we have a luscious space for the jetpack. Let's make the player go up again. I want to do something like this, but the player is a relatively low risk. And now we have the fun part. Let the player fly back down a bit, and let's put a few normal spikes that the player can just simply fly above here. Do not know how to fix the camera, so instead I'm just going to add these blocks. It blocks you off from accidentally hitting the spikes, which I think is also probably reasonable because it's also the first level, so I can get away with that. I'll just make it hard for you to die if you're speedrunning this blind. And now we're going to do the grand finale. I need to make it clear that they do not want to be up here. If they jump up there, they basically have to control the jump height. We're going to do some one block jumps to really test the player's accuracy. If they jump too high, they're dead, and if they're too low, they also die. I do want to, in essence, make it so that it gradually gets more difficult with the jumps you do. So let's make some of these 2-block jumps. I have an idea. You have to pass these semi-solid. Now we add some spikes to the mix. And I think for good measure, just do a 2-block spike. So I'm going to make the jetpack section here a bit more cramped now. The cramped part is technically a tad more challenging, like these 2-block gaps. But you can't really die. Same traps here. You can't really exploit this that heavily. If you fly too high, you basically have to die. I don't want them to have to fly for too long because that might be hard for a first level. They need to control the flying a bit so they don't go up in the ceiling spikes. And then to finish it off, since this is going to be a platformer level, it'll be cool to have a reference to other platformers. Go to staircase, like in the Mario games. But instead of the full staircase, we could add some risk to it also. And now we have a slightly buffed Mario staircase. This is going to be for the 3rd coin. And we all know the Stair Madness 3rd coin is kind of dumb, so I'm just going to go all out. Yeah, that is a nasty staircase. Oh yeah, I like that. The player can just straight fly. How do I force the player to go down is the thing. Now the player is forced to move down more. I just run it back, I think. For good measure, yeah, we're going to do one of these drops. That's a wrap for the first level I've ever made. This is the layout. I'll do that deco later, but overall I think this is pretty neat.